Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from the Corn Productions Deep Dive TV Podcast, here to talk about The X-Files Season 10, Episode 4, titled Home Again. The episode's description reads as follows. Scully receives bad news about her family while away on a case. Mulder finds a strange paint sample at the crime scene, which leads him to the left-handed artist that created the main suspect. The episode was written by Glenn Morgan, and the episode was directed by Glenn Morgan. The episode originally aired on February 8th, 2016. Before going further, I'll tell you a couple of things. One, this is not a sport-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend go check it out. Secondly, if you're listening on the platforms this podcast is now available on, please follow. And feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on our YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to the channel. Alright, so this was a pretty solid, decent episode of television that kind of dealt with the idea of dealing with grief, both the loss of a parent, the loss of a child, though in this case it's the loss of a child. It's not really that simple, as in this case Scully gave away the child for adoption to keep the child safe. And you might recall that William was given up in the ending of Season 9, towards the end of that season. This is really the last decent episode of Season 10. The next two are basically garbaggio. Though in the case of Babylon, it's at least fun garbage. And this is the final appearance of Dana's mother, played by Sheila Larkin. Of course, she had quite a few appearances in the original series. The episode begins in Philadelphia at 5 in the morning, where a bunch of homeless people are being hosed down and removed from the scene, where an unpleasant man tells them that they were told this is coming. And this is Joseph Cutler, played by Alessandro Giuliani. 155 credits for him, including a regular on Battlestar Galactica, Watchmen, and 14 episodes of Smallville. Apparently, he plans on doing this elsewhere. We get an ominous shot of a vibrating soda can as a garbage truck drives by, and then back to the office where lights start flickering. This is very atmospheric, these set of scenes. There's some very scary noises, and then a figure shows up outside his office that Joseph sees. He calls the police and points a gun, and then he dies with both his arms torn off. The assailant seemingly escapes in a garbage truck. And credits. After the credits, Mulder and Scully are called to investigate. A forensic tech is taking pictures. This is Gary Shekin, 18 credits for him, including an episode of Wayward Pines, Fringe, and Eureka. The detective who brought them is Detective Dross, played by Chris Shields. 153 credits for him, including Elysium, Chappie, and Rise of the Planet of the Apes. They soon have the usual pissing match, as the detective does not want to hand over the case. There are no prints, but the victim's limbs are everywhere. Mulder bemoans not even being put in the proper recycling bin, because of course that's the biggest crime here. Mulder notices a painting on a building across the way, as Scully gets a call which appears to be from William. And this kind of freaks her out for a moment, but it's actually Bill, her brother. We don't get an appearance from Pat Skipper, who played him in the original series. In fact, we don't hear from him at all, other than as a imaginary person that Scully is talking to on the phone. He's calling because her mom is at the hospital having had a heart attack, and she is not in good shape. Mulder gently says that she should go. Mulder notices a camera, and then we have a disorienting shot of Scully leaving in a panic. This is a very well done shot that gives the feeling of being in this situation and being in a panic and trying to, desperately get to whoever your loved one happens to be. Mulder checks the footage from the camera, but most cameras have been knocked out. But then he notices that the street art across the way was not there when the cameras were initially filming. So this street art it's very recent. Scully goes to the hospital where she finds her mom unconscious. This is her 17th and final appearance, Sheila Larkin that is, on this series. Interesting to note, her birthday is February 24th, the day before mine, so we're almost birthday twinnies. A nurse talks to Scully. She regained consciousness briefly, kept asking for someone named Charlie, which doesn't make any sense to Scully, as Charlie and her mother are estranged. Scully is confused that she didn't ask for her or Bill. Scully says hi to her mother. She says that she has been where her mother currently is before. Specifically in the episode One Breath, we actually watched that be depicted, and tells her that's where her sister is, but basically she begs her to stick around for the people that are still here, and she tells her not to go home yet. That is the reason for the title of this episode, not, of course, being a sequel to Home, in the original series, which was a very gruesome episode, but a very popular one at the same time. Mulder continues to investigate and happens upon a man and a woman, one representing the school board and the other man representing what Joseph stood for. Joseph not being able to stand for anything now because he's very dead. Landry is played by Daryl Shuttleworth, 105 credits for him, including a bunch of Christmas movies, Fringe, and Dead Zone. Hupp is played by Peggy Jo Jacobs, 26 credits for her, including Star Trek Voyager. Mulder calls them out on claiming to speak for the homeless, but really speaking for themselves. You wonder who actually speaks for the homeless. And then we hear a very homeless man speaking up and saying, "The Band-Aid Nose Man does." Mulder, of course, doesn't know who this is, and the dude does not really clarify. And this guy is played by James R. Bayless, 29 credits for him, including an episode of Travelers, Lucifer, and Supernatural. At the hospital, Scully talks to Bill by phone. She will not speculate on whether her mother will die before he gets there. Scully says she will be kept on life support because after her experience, the one in one breath, she wanted everything put in writing to keep her alive and around for as long as possible. Mulder brings a Band-Aid, which got stuck to his foot in the office at the beginning. I did take note of that, but it happened, to get it examined, and there is nothing on the Band-Aid. Nothing alive nor dead. Scully, meanwhile, finds out that her mother actually changed her will a year ago, stating that she did not want to be kept alive by artificial means, and apparently her mother changed it this last year, and she knew nothing about it. Two men look to take away the painting of the Band-Aid Man, looking to make some money. One cracks, "Who knew you could make so much money off the homeless?" And right away I know these two are going to be very dead very soon. And then, of course, they are stalked, and they, of course, find themselves dead, very dead, with their arms once again pulled off. Kind of like a demented wishbone. The doctor tells Scully that they needed to remove the intubation, and Scully gets a phone call, and it's Mulder. He is at the hospital. Landry is shipping people to the hospital, but Huff tells her that she has an injunction to stop him from doing exactly that. Again, she's not doing this for the homeless. She's doing it for herself and for the school board and whoever it is she actually represents. He mentions that he would stay, but he doesn't think he can because more people are going to die. Mulder fills Scully in on the case. She was looking for Charlie. Scully tells Mulder she looks and wants to know why she changed her will without telling her, and she actually fills us in on a couple of details about Charlie. That basically, he hasn't had anything to do with them in years. She also found a quarter around her neck. The date on it seems to have no significance whatsoever. Scully says she doesn't care about the big questions. She just wants a chance to ask her mom a few more little ones. We see the garbage truck, and we hear the downtown song, and this scene is actually very reminiscent of Home. Specifically referring to the scene where the deputy was killed in that iconic piece of music that is generally not associated with, death and dismemberment. But that's why I made it so effective. And it is also effective here as well. The song plays louder as the Band-Aid Man stalks Huff and then murders her as a storm is a-brewing. Scully asks if they found someone who could bring someone back to life. Scully asks Mulder if they ever found someone who had the power to bring someone back to life. And I'm sure if I really thought about it, I could find such an individual. There was the guy in DPO, but that was just like a matter of using his electricity as a defibrillator, so it's not quite the same thing. Mulder says he invented it in one breath, and she gets a call from Charlie, who's confused by the situation. Charlie is an uncredited Andrew Morgado, 207 sound department credits, and 151 as an actor. Charlie tries to talk to his mom, and her mom seemingly regains consciousness, much to the happiness of everybody in the room. They are all very temporarily happy. Margaret grabs Mulder's hand and says, "My son's name is William too," and then she dies. So, like I said, that happiness was very, very temporary. They bring out the cart to take the body away, but Scully yells for them to get the cart away, but Margaret was an organ donor, and Mulder points out the fact that they need the body right away in order to make use of those organs. Scully cries, saying her last words were about their child, the child that they gave up. She starts to sob, asking why she said that, and then she insists that she needs to go to work right now. Back on the case, the science dude gives them some science info, which leads them to a man who's buying the spray paint for the art they are looking for. They end up tackling this man and asking to speak to the trash man. They end up losing the man and go the rest of the way using flashlights, and this is, of course, very atmospheric. And we even see Scully and Mulder's flashlights briefly cross paths, creating an X, which I'm pretty sure occurred at least a couple of times during the original series, but nevertheless, it's very cute. After a jump scare, they eventually find the trash man. He's played by Tim Armstrong, 14 credits, including The Twilight Zone. The artist basically created the Band-Aid Man who gained life on his own somehow, and as he talks, we see flashbacks of William, which includes a shot of Agent Reyes, played by Annabeth Gish, archive footage. She's not actually in this episode other than that, though she will be in the not the next episode, but the episode after that. I'm sure if you're a fan of this series and a fan of Agent Reyes, you kind of wish that they never brought her back, but that's besides the point. The trash man goes on and on, talking about things I don't even really understand. Scully declares him responsible, as he made the problem, so he has to put the creature that he created out of sight so it wouldn't be his problem, but it's still his fault, he's still responsible. And of course, at this point, Scully is talking about herself just as much as she is talking about the band or the trash man. Basically, this is the point where she realizes what her mother was trying to tell her. Mulder says the last person on the list would be Landry, who got the injunction from the hospital lifted, so congratulations to him, I guess. At the hospital, Landry is being his usual pleasant self. I'm not sure why I'd be rooting for this guy at all not to die. When he gets a whiff of trash, the Band-Aid Man appears and starts attacking him. The lights flicker, there's suspenseful music, and then the Band-Aid Man appears. Landry runs. The agents get to the hospital, but not in time to save him from the Band-Aid Man. They find him very dead, and they don't manage to get the killer. And we don't actually even resolve that, honestly. We just kind of stop at this point. We see Scully and Mulder sit on a beach. Why they're here, not sure, but it's very poetic and very beautiful. Mulder silently listens to her, which, by the way, is a bit of growth from his character. Usually, in these situations in the original series, he might make some kind of sarcastic, funny joke, but here he just lets her talk. She says she knows now why her mom called for Charlie. She wanted to know that he would be okay before dying because she gave birth to him. She was responsible for him, and that's what she was trying to say to Mulder and Scully, that they were responsible for William to make sure that he's okay. She doesn't think she'll ever have her answers. She wonders if he feels abandoned, if he wonders why, and she needs to believe that he did not feel like they treated him like trash. Mulder says nothing and just holds her, and that is where the episode ends. So to the wiki. Morgan was inspired to cast Armstrong because he's a fan of the punk rock band Rancid. The Doctor in this episode is played by Benina Sood, who appeared in the first season episode Shadows, which, by the way, I covered. Home Again was met with positive reviews from critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, the episode received an 85% approval rating and an average score of 7.7 out of 10. The consensus reads, Home Again blends dramatic performances and spooky fun, all in service of a storyline that sends the characters on a dark personal journey. Alan Spinenwall of Hitflix called the episode more representative of the original series, Meat and Potatoes Substance. Its initial broadcast in the United States on February 9, 2016, it received an 8.31 million viewers, a slight decrease in viewership from the previous week of 8.37 million viewers. And that's really all the wiki has to say about this episode. And that's really all I have to say about this episode. It's mostly a very solid episode, definitely worth checking out, definitely justifies the 6th season existence, much like the previous episode did. But of course, after this, it's all downhill. The next 2 episodes are going to be pretty bad. And then season 11, which is a mostly pretty solid series outside of the finale and the premiere, is upcoming. All right, if you like this video and want to support the channel, the number of ways to do so, you can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join the Core Productions Facebook page. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a coffee. You can join the Core Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video as well as subscribe to the channel. This is Dave from Core Productions, signing off.